stay a while and listen.
Welcome to the Agony of Positivity. I am your host, one of Ross. You may hear howling dogs in the background because they are unhappy. But someone who's not a howling dog is the other host.
Moonraiser, king of the Misfit Toys.
Wait, is that actually the name of the Misfit Toy leader?
The big lion guy, I think his name was Moonraiser. Yeah.
That's amazing. I don't...
We've
talked about that, right? We've had to have talked about that.
We've talked about it multiple times. That character needs, like, his own, like, he was too cool to only have a cameo in that Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
You know how you can get him his own show?
No.
Get him some Beskar armor?
Yes.
There you go. That's all it takes.
Yes.
So, how's your week been?
Pretty good. No complaints, I guess.
I'm in about the same boat.
Yeah.
I had something weird happen earlier in the week, and I can't remember it. So if I randomly go into some long-winded story in the middle of the show, it'll be because I remembered it, and it actually is funny enough to retell. So there's a good chance that I'll forget.
Our week ended with you and me cleaning rugs together.
That was weird. I don't know what happened. Like, it's very weird that I'm not going out on a Friday to people's homes, but
yes,
that's okay. I probably avoided like 47 minutes of softball conversation between two adult men, so I'm not the least bit sad. I'd much rather stand in gross water from rugs than do that.
Sure. I thought for sure yesterday when you was cleaning that rug, when you said I don't need rubber boots, I'll just clean with barefoot. I thought you actually were going to clean barefoot.
No, I just took my socks off and then I let nature do the rest with drying the shoes.
I was kind of rooting for Tom Sawyer. I wanted you to see that.
I mean, I did consider it. But then, I don't know that shop floor. I haven't been there as long as you. There's some kind of like rug foot herpes on that floor, I'm pretty sure. Because
it used to be a machinist shop. So there's all kinds of oil and everything else in that floor.
And foot herpes.
Yes.
That's going to be my guess, is the foot herpes would have got me. And this morning I'd be like, Saul, I can't record. I got these sores on my feet all of a sudden. I hope they go away and don't come back for 6 to 9 months.
So, to change the subject, that's kind of disgusting. Have you seen any Christmas specials or anything? Since Christmas will be
literally
happening.
6 days. I have not, but I don't watch.
Anything?
Well, the thing is, like, I don't have like just regular TV that I can turn on.
Sure.
So the channels I get are very limited or very specific. Like, so now I think my wife watched. Oh no, when I got home the other day, we watched Krampus.
Okay. Well, it's Christmas related, I guess. Yes.
I mean, it's a holiday tradition at this house.
Sure.
I mean, it's the true spirit of Christmas.
To watch bad holiday films. I guess.
Krampus somehow.
Yeah.
I know it's not the best movie.
Yeah.
But it is right up there with like Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile, Rocky IV, where if I come in like halfway through and it's on, I'll finish watching it.
Oh man.
Dude, like all the toys take out the people and then they end up stuck in a snow globe, like all Twilight Zone. They get what they deserve.
Sure.
Like, a little kid's just going to randomly say, I kind of don't like Christmas. Does he not realize that that can just basically doom his family for eternity? He needs to be taught a lesson. I think that's fair and just and not totally overkill.
Sure.
Yeah. Also, because I'm not like the biggest Christmas fan, I can pretty much guarantee Krampus is not real because I am not trapped in a snow globe.
Yes.
So.
I have seen Die Hard. I've watched Elf. Guardians. What was it called?
Yeah, the Guardians. Like all the different fairy tales.
Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tooth Fairy. I've seen
I remember seeing that one in the theaters. That was really good, actually. Like, I like that one. I thought there'd be a follow-up to it.
They'll make a sequel to it, but whatever. What else? Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's see.
Jingle All the Way. There was...
Rudolph. I watched Rudolph.
There was a time... So it was like Conan O'Brien with Andy Richter, but it was like back in the 90s or early 2000s, like his first run, basically.
Yeah.
And it was when California had like constant rolling blackouts all the time. Yeah. And for some reason, it was when Conan decided to start doing his Arnold impersonation all the time. But one of the things was always they'd put up a picture of Arnold and he'd scream about Jingle All the Way, where he fights the devil in a blackout. And then he would describe the way to do a proper Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation is to pretend that you have a gigantic Bavarian sausage in your mouth while you're screaming.
Yeah.
So, anytime I hear of Jingle All the Way, because he was trying to get Turbo Man, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think that's what yeah. Him and Sinbad was trying to get Turbo Man.
Yeah. Sorry, I just, on the off chance that someone is old enough to have ever seen those, they might get a laugh out of that, of being reminded.
Sure. So anyway, I've done a lot of Christmassy activities. I've got more Christmas activities planned, so I'm Christmasing it up. So
we might meet some people, like family, on Christmas Eve or the 23rd.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, we worked with a guy, and he said this about Christmas. He's like, look at the Christmas lights. It's like, it's just lights. I don't get the appeal of it. It's kind of like 4th of July and seeing things blow up in the sky. I don't get that either. I don't know.
I mean, the lights are at least a decoration. Like, some lights are good. I mean, even I'll drive around occasionally and look for Christmas lights.
Wow.
It's like my deep, dark secret, so don't let anyone know. Just us and an international listener base.
Now, if you were going to decorate your house, like all out with Christmas lights, are you going to do white lights or are you going to do multicolored lights?
Like my house currently?
Yeah, let's just say you're going to get in the holiday spirit and not be a Scrooge. How would you decorate?
I would probably do blue and white. Would be very likely.
So
there'd have to be. If I'm going to do it, there's going to be color. Yeah.
I hate houses that decorate in just all white light because I'm just like, you just might just have a security light outside.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually critical. Like some people will get those like the projector lights. Like we had a neighbor one time, and the projector lights were just like red and green, and they'd like kind of change like sides, and I was like, that is the laziest version of that you could possibly get. I was like, I could literally buy like 2 flashlights and accomplish the same thing. Like if you're gonna decorate, at least put some effort into it.
Agreed.
Now I could see if I only did white, I would probably do the thing where you like do the outline of the house.
Okay.
And that would be way like I would do if I was doing white, it would have to be like that, and that'd be way more work than if I did colors. where I'd probably
Sure.
do like the front facing part because I'm not going around the sides because that's just way too much work. But if I only did pure like just the white lights, I'd have to outline like the whole house, and then those lights would never come down.
Yes.
Like that's like I'd make sure they were LED.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably do blue and white or green and white, maybe blue and green. My wife's favorite color is green, so I could see having green lights if we were going to do it. And then I don't think I would. I think it would be fairly simple. Like I've seen people where they'll take like the one side and they like string the lights up to make it look like a tree on the side of the house. That probably not happen. And I'd have the icicle lights, but like the proper ones, not like where somebody's looped a string of lights. It's just lights hanging there.
Nah. Well, I know this pains you to talk about Christmas stuff, so would
Yes.
you like to go into the Mandalorian?
Yes. So let me excuse me. Let me hit the bumper here.
Something that could never, ever possibly destroy us. Mr. Stay Puft.
You chose poorly. You have chosen wisely.
All right. So, if you have navigated, much like last week, if you've navigated to this show without watching the finale for season 2, and you have any intent to watch season 2, now's the time to stop.
I don't think we. And if you're trying to avoid spoilers, you need to go ahead and watch this now because I don't know how much longer people can keep it. I mean, people are already blabbing about it, so
Yeah. Yeah, like so there's no way to talk about like there's spoilers. So jump ahead or something if you don't want it. But it's amazing that you would have a show that would put Star Wars in the title and I don't know. I'd love to listen to a spoiler-free podcast about The Mandalorian and see how terribly boring it is. But yeah, so I had seen yesterday in a post on Twitter, one of the guys I follow was like, hey, if you're concerned about spoilers for Mandalorian, I'm going to tell you right now, get off any kind of media or messaging thing. He was like, very few words will completely spoil this episode for you. I was like, that's someone like, they've yet to steer me wrong on opinions, be it video games or other stuff they talk about on their podcasts. And I was like, okay. And then you sent me a message telling me how awesome the episode was. I was like, all right, as soon as I wake up again here in a few hours, because I was like halfway asleep when you sent that, I was like, I'm going to watch that. So about 2 a.m, I watched this episode, and I was spoiler free somehow. Yeah. Now it helps, like when I look at Twitter, I don't look at trending. I only look at the people I follow. So, and I don't follow any trolly people who are going to post gigantic spoilers to things. So,
sure.
So were you able to go into this episode having been spoiler free?
Yeah, because I don't really follow Twitter. The only time I look at Twitter is our Twitter page.
Yeah.
And I only look at our Twitter page maybe twice a week. And then
just here and there.
So I don't really follow Twitter all that much. So.
Okay. So, I'll let you start us off on the episode if you want.
I don't know where it starts from. It's because I've been so I have watched last night's episode, just the ending, probably 10 times already. So I don't know how it actually began. Do you know how it began?
Let's jump to where it gets good then, which is fairly early on. But yeah, we're not going to be like the most comprehensive for this, obviously. But so Mando and Fett show up to speak to what's her face,
Bo
Katan. I always want to like leave off part of that name for some reason, because they're trying to get their help, and they're basically Mando lets them know, I got the coordinates to his ship, and
they had a little Sasha Banks and Boba Fett there kind of had a little squabble there.
Yeah, I liked that it started with him throwing her through a table.
Yes.
So again, Mandalorian's armor better than everything around them at all times.
Yes.
And then she proceeds to do a rocket-assisted tornado DDT.
Yes.
Since we do wrestling on this show as well, there is Fuego del Sol is one of the AEW Dark guys currently, who's on Sammy Guevara's blog a lot. His finisher that he's never hit is a tornado DDT. And they've been hyping it up, so eventually he's going to hit it on somebody and win a match, I'm sure. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, poor Fuego del Sol.
Yeah.
Now Mandalorians are stealing his move and using a jetpack with it. Like, how is he going to compete?
Yes.
Yeah, but that basically, like, that does nothing to either of them, though, and it's like a stalemate with their flamethrowers. But yeah, they come together, and Bo-Katan points out, like, oh, if we would have showed that kind of fight on Mandalore, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation now.
Yeah.
So basically, from there, I mean, really, they get like the whole crew together and are working on a plan.
I was a little.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was a little,
They get the professor.
yeah.
That was, like, I guess, pulling the DNA or whatever you want to call it.
So those guys that were in that ship with the professor there. The one guy, I mean, I'm
Doogie
thinking,
Howser.
Dude, I'm like, dude, you need to shut your mouth because you don't know who you're talking to right here.
Yeah.
So when he got shot in the head, I'm like, you gotta deserve that, buddy.
Yeah. That guy seriously looked like a young Neil Patrick Harris to me.
Okay, I can see that. Okay. All right.
Like, all I could think is like, oh, it's evil Doogie Howser. Like, I went with that and not Barney from How I Met Your Mother. So,
There you go. Yeah.
let's see. I guess that was probably Luke Baines. I'm looking at the IDB. That or Tom. Yeah, because he's like the blondish guy. He kind of looks like him. Yeah, so they basically, like, they're surprised because Boba Fett doesn't shoot him down. They use like an ion cannon to totally disable them. And then, so they basically interrogate him, and he's like super helpful.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I don't know if he thinks like they're gonna save him. Like, I don't understand, or if he's like, oh, I'm kind of neutral in all this. I'm just trying to get paid.
Well, from season one, it seems like he actually is just interested in the child. Like, he doesn't. I don't think he wants to hurt the child. I think he just wants to study the child. I think
he's into the
I don't
science.
I don't think he's really evil per se. I think he's just working with evil people.
Well, right, yeah, but his path to what he wants to do is surrounded by evil people, kind of like Boba Fett in the original trilogy, where it's like, well, technically he might not be evil; he's just a bounty hunter, so he's going where the money is. Maybe similar. This guy was going where the science is. Yeah. So they basically come up with a plan to lay siege to the cruiser that is really well thought out, it turns out, largely due to Dr. Pershing, because if he had not given them the information that he did, real bad. Like, that, I don't think that would have gone like they thought, especially the Dark Troopers.
Yeah.
Let's see. So once they get like the plan in place, I was a little let down because it's basically they're going to come out of hyperspace with Boba Fett chasing them in the ship they just commandeered.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the thought is that Fett's ship Slave One would still be recognized as an ally to the Empire, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's why they decided to try to go that route. I'm just not sure, like, because that basically, they're trying to, like, you know, they're getting access to the ship or whatever. Everybody else is running kind of like a screen to get to the bridge to go after Moff Gideon, and he's just trying to get the child.
Yes.
But, like, so Fett's role in the plan is basically to fly away and be done with it. which let me down because he would have been pretty useful in a couple of the scenes.
Yeah, but it also let me down that the Marshal wasn't in there.
Yeah, I thought for sure. Well, because he's still on Tatooine, right?
Yeah, that's true. So.
Him and Boba Fett could have like a buddy cop show.
Yes.
I mean, that would actually be pretty entertaining.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. But so having played video games, like, and Warcraft is a great example of it, where when you go back to an area and you over level it, and basically everyone you're fighting has no chance against you. That's basically what it felt like when everybody else is going through the ship.
Yes.
The closest they came to really being in trouble was on the bridge. But they really weren't, because it was just a ploy where, like, the Mandalorians jumped off and then, like, came back up and, like, sandwiched the troopers on the bridge. There's literally zero danger for anybody. Pretty much the whole time.
To put it in World of Warcraft terms, they're basically fighting a bunch of Murlocs.
Yeah, at level cap.
And they wasn't having any problems until the rare elites came, and that's when they started having problems.
Yeah, and even then it was, this episode. So they're doing their thing. They get to. I'm just going to kind of put it in two sections here, like, because they get to the bridge, but Gideon's not there, and then we get. So during this whole thing, Mando has been trying to get to the cell where they're holding the child. And he does, and the biggest issue he runs into, so his job is the Death Troopers. He's supposed to try to lock them basically in their cell. There's, and they explain a little bit more. There's like a powering up that it takes a lot to get those things going. So he manages to close the door on all but one of them. Now, during this time, they're just like punching away at the door. So, which I found interesting that there's glass that doesn't shatter straight away. So he's just trying to fight one of these things. I'll let you explain it because you're familiar with the scene, because he's getting like just punched in the helmet into the wall at one point.
Yeah, I mean, so Mando's just he's just having a rough time with this thing, and like somebody said on when he was getting punched in the head by the Dark Trooper, we were all getting, at least I was getting also flashbacks from Game of Thrones when the Red Viper got his head smashed by the mountain. It was crazy. I'd say good 15-minute, 30-minute fight that he had with this thing.
It felt that way.
Eventually how he was able to defeat it was with Beskar.
His spear.
Yeah, and stabbed it through it, and that was just only one. So Mando pretty much knows that these guys are rough to fight.
Well, yeah, because there's no way, like, fighting the one. It was kind of weird because they're basically completely a robot. I don't even know if they count as a droid. Like, they're more a robot.
Yeah.
Like I don't see them having any personality. Like, a lot of the droids have a personality. So to me, that would be a robot. I don't know that Star Wars actually makes that kind of distinction. I think they specifically called them droids. Because when they pointed that out, that was when Mando looked over at Cara Dune, which was basically like, see, this is why I'm not a fan of these droids, kind of thing. Yeah. Is how I took that. That was earlier on in the episode.
Well, yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah, because these things are just basically just
killing machines.
Killing things. That's all they are.
Well, they're, unfortunately, a pro wrestler programmed them because it doesn't immediately go for the killing blow every opportunity. Like, punching the head in was definitely a kill shot, but then it ends up doing some stuff like throwing him around. So that was very, like, I thought that was the one thing that I thought was weird. I was like, I don't think the droid would have done that.
Yeah,
like,
just broke your legs and
yeah, it would have went for like another kill shot, I would think, not just like tossing you.
Yeah.
Or it would have like thrown him way harder. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like he tried like the flamethrower on it, basically everything he could, and then he finally like stabs it in the head, and that does it. But yeah, if you had like 15 or I don't know how many there were total, but if you had like even 5 more of those things at the same time, you're probably not getting the right opportunity. Now they conveniently, I think, disarmed him on the one where the child actually got taken when his ship got blown up, because otherwise he probably would have had those bombs that
that's true.
that he uses constantly. Because like the wrist stingers did nothing to it.
No.
Although it was
I thought it was funny. It was like when he used the flamethrower, I was like, the flamethrower ain't gonna do anything.
I was wondering if maybe there was some circuitry that it would actually have an effect, but it did give an awesome shot when it was just the thing's face with fire coming up around it.
Yes.
It's like, oh, this is really bad news. But yeah, so he manages to kill it. Fortunately, it couldn't break his wrist, I guess, because it couldn't crush the Beskar.
Yeah.
So he just opens the airlock, and all the rest of them go just flying out into space. And I was like, well, that was really convenient because they can't defeat all those, I don't think. They have one Beskar thing. So unless... So, like, at this point, I'm like, well, I guess if he can get the Darksaber, they might have a shot at fighting more of them, but it looks like they got rid of it. So he ends up getting to the cell with the child, and Moff Gideon is holding the Darksaber over the child. My assumption is that was so that even if Mando shot him and he dropped the Darksaber, like he could basically like... It wasn't explained. I assume that's what the play was there, though. And then...
Well, I didn't understand why Mando trusted Moff Gideon, and he turned his back to him. I was like, well, that's just stupid. You know he's...
Well, I mean, he immediately turned around to defend.
Yeah.
So I think he was... My thought was he was hoping for the best, that he would actually do that.
Or I think, he's just... If he does try to betray me, my armor will protect me.
Yeah, like he has... I'm assuming that he had sized it up and he was like, I'll be able to fight this guy if I need to.
Yes.
He's going to go... If he goes for a cheap shot, he's not going to be able to get me. Now, had he gone for the back of the legs, you know...
Yes.
It is... And again, I want to say how crappy Stormtrooper armor is. Good lord. But yeah, so we end up we get a fight. It's not quite a lightsaber duel.
Yeah, so we see a lightsaber duel with someone who's not trained with using a lightsaber at all.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And then Mando has his spear that I kept waiting. So every time he blocks the Darksaber, like his staff glows red from heat. Yeah. I really thought that it was going to get superheated, and he was going to end up with 2.
Yeah.
And that would actually benefit him, but that's not what happened. But he basically...
You beat him kind of easily there.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't much of a fight. I did like when he used, like, the... I'm going to call it his space lasso.
Yeah.
And he just, like... There's, like, a moment where... It looked like Moff Gideon's eyes kind of go down and then back up, like, really? And he just, like, cuts the cable. Like, with, well, whatever. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, he pretty much dispatches this guy without too much trouble. And then, so now he has the Darksaber.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, easy enough. He just gives it to Bo-Katan. Like, that's my thought process at this point, because I'm not,
not
aware.
Moment, I realized... At that moment, I go back to Star Wars Rebels. I was like, oh, that kind of makes me kind of wonder if he did it on purpose because of what happens next.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. So, since you have, like, the history with watching that show, you're like, oh, he's setting something up.
Yeah, because in order to claim the dark saber by the Mandalorian, whatever
Creed
that sect of man, you have to beat somebody in combat. So now, technically, according to that sect's rules, Mandalorian is the king or the ruler of the.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can't just be given the saber.
Apparently not, because Vader's like, just take it. I don't want it, type thing.
Well, and then that was an interesting. Yeah, so we'll skip up to that real quick. He comes in. He's got Moff Gideon. He's got the Darksaber. He's got the child. They're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, you didn't kill him. And, which kind of was a surprise. Like, I expected that'd be the end of him. But,
yeah.
Apparently
well,
not.
I think the reason he didn't kill him is because of what Kara said.
Yeah, for the
said.
information.
And I think that's why he didn't do it. He's like, okay, I'll just keep him
Right.
alone.
Well, and I mean, honestly, he didn't really have to. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like he was
Sure.
the most from him being a bad guy, yes, but from like a physical threat, not much.
Yeah. Sure.
But you can kind of see where he's delighted as soon as Mando tries to hand over the saber, because he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it doesn't work that way." And I was like, "Oh, okay, so this is possibly his backup plan, or it might be his primary plan."
Well, to keep him alive too, also.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm skipping forward just a little bit, but to see the fear in his eyes when someone shows up, it was good. I'm glad they left him alive.
Yeah,
For that,
if nothing else for that.
Crap.
Well, so they basically all the troopers that were ejected into space because they're droids and have rocket boots.
Went back and got buddies. I guess.
Yeah, so they're now on like a clock. And he's like, "Oh, close the hole," or like close like the what I would consider the equivalent to like a blast door or something.
Yeah.
But these troopers are coming through in perfect unity.
Yeah.
So they kind of like the whole debate of like Mando having to fight her is kind of put on hold. There's not resolution to that. Also around this time, Gideon had hid a blaster, and that didn't go well for him either.
Yes.
Because like he does pretty much nothing with the blaster, looks to like blow himself away, and that doesn't go well for him.
Yeah.
Like that's something, but
yeah. I liked how Tara there just punches him right in the face, knocks him out.
yeah, like that was really good.
Yeah.
So the giant robots of doom are punching their way through the door. Did you happen to read in comic books, like the Death of Superman comics? So before Doomsday shows up and valiantly slays the villain, there's a scene at the end of a lot of the different comics of this fist just pounding into a big steel wall, and with the two robots at the front punching that. And like every time, like the last little panel would always say Doomsday is coming. So seeing the robots trying to punch through like this super thick door, I very much thought of Doomsday and Superman.
Oh, okay.
Is the visual it gave me. I'll try to find at some point. I'll send it to you later. Like one of the, like a page from it or something, like a picture of it, because it super fits like this moment, because they've crushed everything that was in front of them, but now they're like, oh crap, like we're not even on an even playing field here. We're toast.
Well, it's funny that you use the Superman Doomsday thing, because here comes Superman.
Yes. Yeah, because there's like an X-Wing that shows up.
Yeah.
And they ask, like, just one X-Wing? Like, I assume they're hoping for a fleet. Which my thought was... So I hadn't put together what was going on yet.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, a fleet means they're probably going to obliterate the entire ship. I don't think you guys want that.
Yeah.
So I don't know... I mean, I guess they were just hoping for a ton of people to show up to help fight those things, but like lore wise, I don't know how like those robots seem unbeatable by normal means. So like I don't know if there's like a particular blaster or a cannon or something that would be effective against them.
Well, so yeah, in my mind, like you said, the Dark Troopers were trying to bust in, and I'm thinking, well, they're going to need Ahsoka to come. That's the only thing.
That's kind of who I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I also thought, I was like, you know who'd be real handy to have right now is Boba Fett. Not that he's going to like turn the tide, but he's got he would have some extra weaponry, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
That might at least help, or at least get them out of there. So, but yeah, there's like the thing lands, and is this around the time that Gideon is like has like the facial expression of like, ah, crap?
Well, because Baby Yoda starts perking up.
Yeah.
And
he's been sitting like asleep.
Yeah, and when he starts perking up, I was like, well, it has to be a Force user for him to be acting like this.
Right. Who actually has some juice
Moff
too
Gideon
for him to be able to tell.
And then Moff Gideon has the fear on his face when he sees the dark figure.
Yeah, cloaked.
Jedi robes,
black cloak.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, like I told you, I thought it was going to be a Sith Lord. Because I was like, well, only Sith Lords wear black like that. I totally forgot, about...
Yeah, Return of the Jedi.
Luke's Johnny Cash look there in Return of the Jedi. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, it turns out it is, in fact, Luke Skywalker. But, so my thought was she had shown up, or the Sith Lord didn't really occur to me, but that would have made sense in a way because the Empire deals with the Sith, and Moff Gideon being horrified of being like, uh-oh. Like Starkiller or somebody, whoever. The ghost of Darth Maul. Like, somebody was showing up that he knew he wasn't making it out alive. Like, that kind of thing. But we see, like, the gloved hand, and then we get the green lightsaber. And it's like...
Yeah, when I saw because my wife and me, we were watching it, and she's like, well, who do you think that is? Because we thought also may have been Ezra from Star Wars Rebels. It wouldn't have been I don't think it would have got a huge reaction. I think some people would go like, oh my, it's Ezra that came back.
Right.
But yeah, when I was like, no, there's only one person that uses it as a glove.
Yeah, that I'm aware of. I mean, I'm sure there's somewhere. But yeah, so you see once the green lightsaber hit, I was like, is that actually Luke? Because I was trying to figure out, I was like, well, how are they going to do that? Like, is he just never going to reveal his face?
I just sent you a picture. Look how cool that picture looks.
Yeah.
So awesome.
There is... the picture he sent, it's basically where he's got, like, the saber out and he's force pushing behind him with the hallway. Someone actually put the Rebel scene with Vader coming through the corridor.
Yeah, I've seen that comparison.
Like the split screen where it's very, very similar. It's almost the exact same length, too. I assume that was intentional.
Well, yeah, if you watch Rogue One, when he...
Rogue One is what I meant.
Well, technically it's Rogue One and New Hope put together type thing. Because technically Rogue One goes into New Hope. Yeah, but if you watch that scene and watch when Luke's entering in fighting the Dark Troopers, it's very similar to how Darth Vader fought the Rebels.
Right. And so he's like, I'm assuming, like, as it goes on, like, especially when he crushes the thing, like the Force Crush.
Yes.
Which I always thought, like, the Crush was more a dark side version.
Yeah.
But since he would know that it's completely a droid, I don't guess it matters. Like, I don't know. Like, somewhere along the way, I thought there was very specific things that were light side versus dark side.
Yeah.
But I mean, crushing something. I mean, I assume if he drinks like a can of soda, that he would just crush it with the Force, like in midair or something.
Like you said, he's smashing a piece of metal. So,
so it doesn't really. Yeah, like it's not like he's choking a person or anything. Although Baby Yoda, the child,
Yes.
not a problem choking people.
Yes.
But yeah, so he gets finally, like, he kills the last one, and he's just basically standing outside the bridge, and everybody's like, oh crap, because they've basically just watched on monitors this guy not break a stride for the most part, obliterate these things, like zero effort. Like, he didn't even take his hood off. So Mando's like, oh, he's like, let him in. Nobody seems to think that that's a good idea.
In wrestling terms, it's like John Cena destroying the Wyatt family. Just
I mean, I would go further back. I mean, this is full on like Hulk Hogan no-sell mode.
Yes.
Like, or possibly Ultimate Warrior, where it's like, yeah, it's just over. So he's on the, so I'm waiting. I'm like, so he's just going to stand there and not take the hood off.
Yeah.
And then he takes the hood off. And I'm like, so they're 100% committed to however they're doing it. And it's young Luke Skywalker, basically. So I'm like, well, how did they do this? Is that like a like, what's going on here? So I actually looked up what they did, if you had not.
What, the face?
Like how they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have like a guy who's like a body double, basically, who's actually listed. It's Max Lloyd Jones. He's actually listed as double for Jedi. And I guess he's done similar roles as this, but I don't know if he wears a mask or what they do, but the face is CGI.
Yeah.
But the voice is still Mark Hamill. They just kind of younged him up in the voice, I guess, digitally. So...
Well, yeah. So they needed a skinny person, and Mark Hamill is not really... He's old.
Well, he's been living the good life off that Joker voice money.
Yes. So he needs to be like how he was back in the 70s or the 80s when they released these. So.
Well, and I mean, he's still not going to be able to move.
Yes.
Like, I mean, let's face it, he's older. Like, time gets us all.
Yes.
But yeah, so he basically, the child goes with him after, like, and he explains that the child is looking for his blessing to go with Luke, essentially. This is a moment where Mando's telling him that he can go, and he'll see him again, but he actually takes the helmet off for the child, who, like, actually touches his face. Which I saw someone point out, like, there's a really good chance that that's the first person who's touched his face in decades. However old he is. I would assume, like, 20-ish for Mando. I don't know. But that was a fairly emotional scene, though.
Yeah.
Because you can, like, they played up the bond that they have. But yeah, so then Luke, R2 shows up, and apparently R2 can beep and Yoda creature language.
Well, he's like, hey, it's a baby Yoda.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Like, somewhere there's like a subtitle, and it's like happy R2 noises, or something like that.
I wonder if they show Luke, like in season 3, and Dagobah, in Yoda's hut, training baby Yoda there.
The child, he's like, put this backpack on. You're gonna learn today.
Yes. I'm getting in the backpack. You're gonna carry me around. Yes.
I hope. There's no way we're the first people to think how hilarious that would be. Somewhere there's going to be a picture of that.
Yes.
Where Luke's just making this poor kid do all the stuff that Yoda did to him.
Yep.
And then, so if we get rid of the last 2 parts of the sequels, we can have where, is it pronounced Grogu? Is that how his name is said?
I think it's Grogu, yeah. Something like that.
Is asking Luke questions, and then Luke's like, this is why Yoda just died, is all these questions. And then Luke just fades away. Like, that's how he'll die. Instead of just disappearing, sitting on a rock, he can just be questioned to death by a Jedi apprentice Padawan.
Yeah.
God, I'd rather just be a Force ghost than answer another one of your questions. Jeez.
Yes. Yeah, so I was happy with the way. Now, I didn't see the post-credit scene, so if you people have not seen post-credit scenes,
There is one.
Apparently, there is one.
Yeah, so basically, Boba Fett shows up and kills Bib Fortuna in what used to be Jabba's palace, and then sits on the throne. Like that's the simplicity of it. Then it says, the Book of Boba Fett coming December, I think it said 2021. So, and I was looking into that a little bit, trying to find out if anybody knew anything. Because, I mean, they just announced all these shows, but they didn't mention anything about Boba Fett. But I could see where you would not reveal that.
Well, yeah, because so it makes sense why you wouldn't reveal it.
Well, one, because, like, that's one of the bigger things you can reveal, at least in my opinion. Two, you spoil that he makes it out alive. I didn't think for a second that Boba Fett wasn't surviving the Mandalorian, though, because I don't think Disney hates money. So I think there was zero chance of Boba Fett dying. There is a better chance that the child would die than Boba Fett would die. Like, without a doubt.
I actually pondered that they were going to kill the child. Maybe.
I mean, there'd be no reason to do that.
Other than shock value.
Right. But it'd be the dumbest, like, so potential series of Luke Skywalker and this kid training.
Yes.
Even if you do like a one-off, like, three episode miniseries.
Oh,
like, there's all kinds of things you could do with that.
Disney has to be thinking that, especially the reaction they're getting from it. They're probably like, you know what? We could do a little mini-series there.
Well, so we talked about this a little bit before the show, but the sequels, not so good.
Garbage.
The story was all over the place. First one, they set up a bunch of stuff that they could have taken a direction, and they didn't really do any of that. So this, if you look at, in general, The Mandalorian, like from season 1 to the end of honestly, they could end this now if they did like one more episode to clear up the Darksaber thing is all they would need to do. And I would be happy with this as we're going to close this story. Like, that'd be okay. And then you can do other stuff later on and have like the Mandalorian show up. But if they ended this, like if this was the end of it, it's like, kind of like the end of the original trilogy, where you're like, man, I wonder what else is going to happen, but you don't kind of know, so you're just left to wonder. Like, this would be an okay. Like, I'd want more, but I've seen how season 3 for everything plays out. I'm okay if they ended at season 2. I know they're not gonna, but this is a really strong ending. But yeah, like, the story is like super linear in a way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a few twists and turns here, but it's like a super basic story that they didn't try to get cute with, and people love it because it was really good. It's okay to not do like weird stuff for no reason. So, so, I mean, I haven't been this pleased with so when Force Awakens came out, I was happy because it looked hopeful. I'm more excited at the end of this than I was the end of Force Awakens. Because, and it could be that they determined that TV shows, or like 1 hour, like miniseries basically, is the way to do Star Wars. Because you can actually go a little more in depth to the stuff. Or you can take your time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because you could probably take the sequels, and if you extended them out and actually had time to fill out some of the character development, you could make it makes sense a little bit better, I would think, if you had more time.
Yeah.
But long form story is probably better.
Well, how the new trilogy ended with Kylo Ren becoming good again, and I'm like, you should have just kept this. That you should have made it this way to begin with. What? Why did you go the route that you did?
Yeah, I mean, they wanted. It really seems like they wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you needed to do. Nobody wanted to see this. So, if you haven't seen the last 3 movies, there's some spoilers we're about to talk about, so just heads up. I did not want to see Han Solo's son kill him.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't make me hate Kylo Ren. That didn't make me think he was a terrible bad guy. That just made me sad.
Sure. But make Harrison Ford very happy because he hated Star Wars and wanted out of it. So
yeah, well, that's fine. They could have killed him a billion different ways.
yes.
Well, and the thing is, like, it's like they tried to build. So we're gonna go to pro wrestling with this. They were trying to push Kylo Ren as a bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really wanted to root against him.
Yeah.
And instead of just being like, you know what, we need to change course somewhere along the way, like, we're going to keep pushing this. We're going to try to give him like a redemption at the end, but by then people are just disinterested, so it doesn't hit quite the same.
Yeah, I mean, they could have had him and Rey team up. Rey could have been Obi-Wan's daughter, and, you know, it just, I don't know.
There's just a number of things, like, I don't know, because at this point, like, Star Wars almost has to be like a fan service.
Yeah.
And, like, Mandalorian, I think, gave everybody something that they wanted.
Yeah.
You got Boba Fett. You got a lot of Mandalorian characters. Considering there was, like, one to start with, and now you have more than one. That's at a minimum of 100% increase. That's pretty good. If you're an armor smith who can make mimicked Mandalorian armor in any way, or a cosplayer, you've basically been given a full-time job, I have the assumption. Like, you got the Darksaber, you got Luke Skywalker being super badass, like full-on Ultra Jedi, unstoppable, which is what we never really got. Like, Return of the Jedi, technically he was about there, but not really. Like, this is like the most intense, and I mean, like, the way they did sword fights and stuff back then wouldn't have been the same. But you get like a super current, like, oh, this is super awesome.
And Luke Skywalker is true to character. He's not a weird old decrepit man living on a planet like I told you earlier.
Yeah,
drinking green milk from a cow or whatever it was.
Yes,
it's just like.
And I'm going to point out. Now, this is not the original thought, but if Rey wouldn't have been there, he was drinking it straight from that creature.
Sure. It's just like, this was the Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He had this...
It has a few more years on him.
Yeah, it's just like...
Well, the thing is, like, you could have had, like, old Luke Skywalker. Like, who, like, kind of moved away from everything. But... I think there's like, again, I don't know that that's what people wanted. People wanted Luke to be like Obi-Wan, basically, or Yoda. Like, even if he's not doing something, you wanted him to be like a good guy, and he came across as like a curmudgeon.
Yeah, he was a guy who was just bitter, and for whatever reason, didn't want to help Kylo Ren. They wanted to kill him. I'm like, what? That's not Luke Skywalker.
Right, and they kind of like, that's one of those things, like, that whole story beat, like, on the TV, like, if they did a TV version, you could have really expanded on that and maybe had that come across a lot better. But from the movie standpoint, it was like, this isn't what I want to see. This is dumb.
Yes.
So you have like Mandalorian, where it gives you pretty much everything you could have wanted. And then you have the other stuff that was like, those things you want, we're going to do the opposite for shock value.
Yes.
Is what, at least to me, that's how it felt. I think you're about the same way. It seemed like it was a shock value decision or something.
I don't know. It's like,
I mean, it was not the best decision because people don't like it. But
I mean, I have no problem with Rey being the main character. Before
right.
people say that I'm being sexist or anything, I have no problem with Rey as the actress that played Rey. I think she did a great job with the crap that she was given.
Yeah.
The Rey, the character was not made. It was a terrible character development with that. I mean,
yeah, there was stuff that wasn't addressed. Well, I mean, Finn had potentially a great character, and they're like,
Finn had a whole great storyline building right there, right in
Awakens.
Force Awakens, and then there was like, I don't like this story.
Again, like Awakens good, and then it was just like, we're not using any of that crap. Like, did you just call that crap? Like, that's like the first Star Wars things that people have really liked that wasn't a cartoon. Yeah, that stuff was crap. We're not going to use any of it. Here's what we're doing.
We're going a different route with this, baby.
Like, okay, I guess. I mean,
the Emperor cloned Schnook, and Schnook is here, and I'm just like, well, why did the Emperor even do that? Why did the Emperor just become the Emperor again? I mean,
well, you need, like, I don't, honestly, when I watched the last two, I didn't, at a certain point, I kind of was watching it to say that I watched it, and there might have been nuances to it that are actually in there that I missed. But
so the thing about the last two new movies is the fight scenes in it are awesome.
Yeah,
I'll give them that. But yeah, as far as story goes, who cares? I mean, the story was garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we'll get a, what was it we were talking about? Basically, do a dream sequence, like keep Force Awakens, and then the last two movies were some kind of prophecy that Luke foresaw. Because that's how the first one ends. Is Rey shows up and is walking up to him, and that's kind of the end of it. So all of a sudden, that was the next two movies were a prophecy that Luke saw of how things could turn out.
They could do that, yeah.
Because they have the perfect out right there.
They do.
So instead of him,
Rebels,
and they can even say, "Oh, yeah, I was definitely being a little bit of a drama king about all this stuff, but I will train you, like much more simply." And
well, they don't need to do that because the way the Force Awakens ends is she hands him the lightsaber.
Well, right, but he can be like, he can still be unhappy, like, because he's obviously unhappy since he's exiled himself. But they could address that, and then he'd be like, "But I see the errors of my way."
Yeah,
all right,
sure,
that's fine. Or he was like, "Oh, I got lost." Like, what? Yeah, X-Wing's down there. Nobody's been able to find me because I went to a stupid planet, which would actually be funny.
Without Yoda here, I can't lift these things out of the water. It's terrible.
But like, I could literally lift anything else except the X-Wing. It's the one thing for some reason. They made it out of Beskar or something. I don't know.
And like I told you, Star Wars Rebels kind of did an episode where the whole basically Flashpoint where they can correct stuff if they want to go that route. So who knows? Right.
But so in the end, though, at the end of Mandalorian, are you optimistic again for Star Wars?
No, because like you said, the dreaded season 3 is coming.
Yes.
So.
Well, and they're doing so many shows. I'm going to allow myself to be optimistic.
Yeah.
It could very well be a mistake, but we'll find out next year sometime. 'Cause, I mean, obviously, like the amount of stuff they're making, some of it's just not going to be good.
A lot of that crap. A lot of this stuff. I'm just like, why? No one wants this. Why are you making this?
Well, and they might surprise. Like, I didn't think I'd be as into The Mandalorian as I ended up being. So they could definitely do something where it's like, oh, this is really cool. But
like you said, I would scrap half, like the droid story and the acolyte and whatever else.
Yeah.
And just do like a little mini series of Luke and Grogu there and R2D2.
I'm sure we'll
I'd
get
be
that.
happy with that. Yeah. So.
Like, we're gonna get that on top of everything else, but we'll see. Like,
And I want to see Luke Skywalker in a little backpack.
Yeah. Where it's like just his like feet up to like his calves are all that's in there. He's like, not only do you got to carry me, you have to balance me. Start flipping.
Yes. Yes.
And then like there's so much like
force powers can make me shrink, right?
well, there's so many funny things you could do, because at some point if like have him like lifting something over his head, Grogu, that he just can't do it and it drops on him, and then like have like a flashback to where that happened to Luke, and he just looked at him and be like, "Hurt it does, learn you will." Just so, like just where he mocks Yoda, like he has like a little bit of pent up frustration with Yoda that he's taken out on the kid, and he has to overcome that.
Yeah, and like Luke purposely crashes the X-wing into the swamp just so he can.
So he can, like, his plan is for him to fail lifting it, and then he'll lift it. But in this case, like, the child just lifts it up without a problem.
No. What would be funnier is, so he crashes it. He tries to make the child do it. He can't do it. So Luke tries to do it. He can't do it. Then Force Ghost Yoda comes back and just says, "Oh, here, I'll just do it."
Oh man, yeah. Or if nothing else, Robot Chicken needs to come back and do a Star Wars special with that.
Yeah.
Like somewhere it needs to happen. Hopefully someone will animate something, or I don't know, but there's so many hilarious things that could be done.
Yep.
So
overall, good episode, good season. I enjoyed it.
All right. So we have taken a lot of time on that.
We can talk a little bit about wrestling, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not even going to hit the bumper. We'll just get into it. Let me see here. I got to make a note of the time, though. So the biggest thing I heard of the week is, like, I guess Raw of the WWE did a really bad rating. There was one story I saw that I don't even know if it's true, that like the USA or NBC Universal Network, not happy.
Sure.
But like from everything, because I didn't watch it, but I read the results to Monday night, and I wanted my time back, that the 2 minutes or so that it took me to read through the results. I was like, this seems just awful. And like people who watched it, like I didn't see anyone have really anything good to say about it.
Okay.
And then there was a rumor, I don't know, there's supposed to be some kind of shakeup next Monday.
Sure.
So I think the McMahons will come out and tell us that we're in charge again.
Because we haven't had enough of those yet.
Right. Well, I mean, that seems to be the current pattern. But yeah, so it seemed like it was a super bad Raw, but like I don't know if people are just making up stuff, because that's seems to be what happens in the wrestling world. Is you'll get the site like Super Duper Wrestling News, and they just are like, oh, this person's on the verge of getting fired, and it's like, no, they're not. Like, you are literally just making things up. So the stuff that we were just mentioned, I have no idea if there's any verified sources. I just saw like people running wild with that, so maybe there's some truth to it. But I can definitely say that I didn't see anyone that was happy with the episode. So,
sure.
But they got a pay-per-view coming up this weekend. So, for AEW, for me, the highlight of this show was we had the Good, the Bad, and the Hungy against the Hardy Party. So we get Adam Page with Silver and Reynolds. The real highlights to this match are the amount of times that they almost made Page break and just start laughing.
Yes.
Like there were multiple of those. Surprisingly, Hangman's team lost. I thought for sure they were going to win.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that they lost too.
They did have a really cool intro though, where they came out with the tiny cowboy hats and gave one to Paige during his intro, and he's just like, "What are you guys doing?" Like, I mean, they did have Cowboy Day on being the elite for Hangman,
Yes.
which ended in Hangman killing all of the Dark Order with finger guns.
Yes.
Which, again, was a ridiculous segment that made him break 3 or 4 times, I'm pretty sure. So, let's see here. We talked about this at work the one day. Cody fought and Hengelico. I can never say it right. From TH2. I really like this match. Back when TH2 fought the Revival, or whatever they are, FTR, I'm slowly getting into TH2.
Yeah.
I'm at the point where I'm super want them to start winning some matches unexpectedly. But the big thing that I don't know, like, you're not really into them at all, are you?
I mean, I like them more than I like the Best Friends, which is not saying much, I guess.
I mean, I can come up with people that you probably hate that you like more than the Best Friends. So,
Sure.
Best Friends are the way you feel about Best Friends. That's how I feel about Superman.
Sure.
Like, it's like
irrational.
Yeah, basically, like all logic goes out the window. We did get another Sting appearance, kind of making the save.
Yep.
So there's no way we're not getting Sting, Cody, and Darby against Team Taz, right? Like, that has to be where this is going.
Which is smart. You put Sting with the younger guys, let them do all the work.
Yeah, he gets a hot tag and does like a Stinger splash and a death drop or something.
Yeah, it does. I mean, do what you do with Macho Man and Ric Flair, and as they get older, just have them do, like you say, clothesline or whatever. I'll tag back out.
Like, all right, shoulder tackle, clothesline, I'm tagging out.
Yeah.
We get like a super. I'm skipping a few things here. Just like Eddie Kingston comes out and does his thing. Pac's back. Death Triangle's back. Archer shows up. Like, this is just a mess of 2 groups fighting.
Yeah.
Kind of to have something to do.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Dustin's gonna go against Evil Uno. Dustin apparently has decided that he wants to defeat every member of the Dark Order.
Yep.
Fair enough. So 47-man tag team match. Wardlow was unavailable.
Yep.
So Orange Cassidy just kind of joined commentary. And then we get a 12-man instead of a 14-man.
Yep.
Just all kinds of stuff. MJF steals the pin. I think that's what matters. There was a really funny moment that someone on fan cam, like who was like in attendance, caught when they do like the giant hug. Orange Cassidy stood up and he hugged himself and then hugged Excalibur. So that was pretty funny while that was going on. We get a Thunder Rosa interview. We get Britt Baker. I didn't catch this part where they spilled a bottle of water on Thunder Rosa's paint.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, I need to see the match. Let me see. So this is about the point in the show when I started getting sleepy. Because I had a long day. I made the mistake of laying with one of my dogs, which is pretty much a recipe to fall asleep. So, Acclaim get the upset victory. So, that's, like, they're clearly trying to build those guys up. Let me see. Women's tag, I didn't see the women's tag match.
Yeah.
Clear, what? See, I missed this totally, because this I would have cared about. Big Swole has been training with Dean Malenko on a Clearwater Cloverleaf.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's how she is.
So, I know how to do a Texas Cloverleaf. I don't know how much training you really need. Like, it's always weird because, like, wrestling around with friends or whatever, I never found like any of the submissions difficult to apply to people.
Yeah.
So when they talk about like it's weird.
To do it correctly, yes, you need training.
Oh. Well, I mean, I just remember seeing wrestlers like go to do like a figure four or like a sharpshooter or something. It's like, dude, I am at the time like a 16-year-old. And it's like, I know how to do this. Why don't you? Like, that's your literal business.
Sure.
All right. So, did you watch the main event?
Yeah, it's the only thing I cared about.
Okay. Now, was that because you just wanted to see Joey Janela get beat up?
No, I mean, because I thought the Good Brothers were going to come over because that's what they were kind of hinting at.
Right. Yeah, you were thinking there might be like a Impact person show up, like them specifically, or just something.
I thought the Good Brothers were going to come out with Kenny, or they was going to attack Janela there. But
I mean, to be fair, Kenny Omega should not need the Good Brothers to defeat Joey Janela in any circumstance.
Agreed, but I thought that just I don't know, make him more of a heel.
Right, or like a post-match beatdown or something.
Yeah, something. Yeah,
but yeah, so they do the commentary during the match, where
which I thought,
yeah, like the first time I ever saw that was Jerry Lawler back in WWF days. But
yeah,
so basically he fought. I kind of like the story they're doing within AEW with this. He's fighting Joey Janela because Janela couldn't be in the tournament. So he wanted to leave no doubt that he would have beat Janela as well. So now he's going to fight Phoenix because Phoenix had to drop out of the tournament. So that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with. And I think Kenny and Phoenix are going to be a heck of a match.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, though, is Kenny they've been adding him into the Impact shows. And him and the Good Brothers are going against, I think it's Motor City Machine Guns and Rich Swann.
Yep.
At the pay-per-view. So that's going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Like
Omega
you said,
was
kind of playing out. They're kind of making Kenny Omega out to be kind of like the Thanos.
Yeah.
Character.
Well, and he was on Jericho's podcast from Friday. And it's kind of an in-character interview, but they talk about real stuff too. But he's definitely like, it feels like he kind of used it to flesh out the character a little bit more. Because at one point he's talking about like going for like the belts or collecting or whatever, but he basically has a responsibility to bring wrestling to the next level, where him and Don Callis are giving people what they want, kind of thing, where he's like, well, everybody wanted me to be the champion, but and it's like, well, yes, but they gave you what you wanted, but not the way you wanted it. So it's like the monkey paw wish kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm curious because they kind of hinted that they have something else planned, like they have another big thing they're going to do. So I don't know where they would go from here. I mean, Impact is doing better viewership than it has before, for sure.
I mean, the only thing I can think of, it has to be Ring of Honor or New Japan.
Right. I mean, it's weird because they mention New Japan a lot with the current situation. It's not like it's not as easy to do something.
Sure.
So I just don't know.
Well, maybe they're hoping with the vaccine that's out now that
things will
middle of this year, everything's going to kind of get sort of back to normal. I don't know. Maybe.
Right, where they can do some travel. Because I mean, they've definitely been name dropping them a lot, but it could just be that AEW was like, no, we're going to acknowledge other companies. Like, we're not going to pretend that all that other stuff doesn't exist. Because it is super frustrating to watch WWE when they they've been better about it recent, but like, you'd be like, oh, who is this person? Like, are you kidding? Like,
Yes.
it's one thing, like, back when it was, like, the 90s, it was like, okay, The Undertaker showed up. Yeah, not everybody's going to know that's Mark Calla. Nowadays, it's like, we're going to talk about this guy, change his name, and pretend that he's never existed.
Yes.
No. Like, oh, we're going to pretend this guy's a rookie? Come on.
I'm really surprised they let AJ Styles be AJ Styles, to be honest with you.
They didn't make him be like Steve Fashion.
BP Fashion or something like that.
I mean, it is amazing in a way. I mean, AJ Styles is really good. It is amazing, though, that for him essentially being like a TNA franchise kind of guy, that he has had the success that he has had.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sorry, I did not silence my phone today. So I'm not actually pushing blocks to find staircases. If anyone heard that. It's the Zelda sound. So
I did not hear it. I did not hear anything. So.
Well, good. There's nothing there. Nothing behind the curtain.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'm curious to that. I will possibly be trying to watch TNA's big event. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to pay a lot for it, but I'm super intrigued at a minimum.
Yeah.
So if nothing else,
and like you said, it's weird because I don't think that this really helps AEW at all. It really helps
Impact.
Impact.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like, it might simply be that building up Impact to be a bigger deal is good for AEW. Like, if they do have, like, an agreement where they ever do a talent exchange, it's like, well, we want Impact to at least be seen as a player.
Yeah.
Like, not just something that nobody knows about. So if we make them up to be a big deal, and then, like...
Well, it's not good. It's not good to have Tony Schiavone, then, to be burying him on the mic.
Well, I mean, he's basically, like... I mean, they're trying to steal their champion is how they view it. So it makes sense. They're the bad guys, sort of. I saw someone, their thought was going to be that kind of like what they're already doing, where like you're going to mix and match AEW and TNA guys if you're doing like a feuding story, or like you're going to have some TNA guys team up with AEW guys and vice versa. That way it's not like a true invasion, because if it's an invasion, either AEW wins or TNA wins. If you mix everybody, a particular team can win. You're not actually saying one company is better than the other. You're just having some people get wins over somebody that, if you have a working agreement, you can always revisit later.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So, which I don't know if that's what they're going for, but the person, they like kind of came up with a little bit of a scenario, and it was like, that was the thing I took away from it, though, is like, if they are mixing it, assuming it's not just limited to Kenny going back and forth, I assume other AEW people are going to be, since Tony Khan's spending his money clearly to run advertising on TNA or Impact, and that's definitely not just them actually putting that in there. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm surprised that I'm interested in something going on in Impact. I will say that.
So 2021 should be a good year for wrestling, because the start of 2020 in wrestling, it was
yeah. They although I can't wait if they ever get real crowds back. People are gonna lose their minds.
I think they'll appreciate more, at least for a little bit, because humans are humans, and we are very fickle people. So I mean, I think for a little bit we will like stuff, and then we're like, okay, this is stupid.
I saw this is unrelated to wrestling or Star Wars or anything. There was someone who was like, they talked about the Roaring '20s because that followed like a period of plague, basically. Like, I get now why all the pictures you see from the '20s, everybody's dressed up. Like, being able to go out was more of an event. Like, maybe it's going to be the same thing where, like, it's like, oh man, like going out is technically, I'm going to use the word, it's a privilege to go out.
It's going to be something special again, like going to the theaters.
Yeah, or at least for like a while.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think we can end it there. SmackDown. Roman Reigns is still doing awesome.
Sure.
There you go. I don't know anything else from SmackDown, but
Yeah.
I know that my tribal chief.
John Ferrero, or whatever his name is actually writing Roman Reigns' script on SmackDown.
Is that true, or are you
Never
just
mind.
making that up?
I'm making it up.
I have no idea. I mean, it's a simple story that's really good, so I would believe it.
I can see McMahon's like, you know what? This whole Mandalorian thing, who's writing that?
Let's get him over here. Roman, you're going back to the vest, but it's going to be this Beskar. I don't know what it is, but it's shiny as hell. Put it on, pal.
Yeah, you're going to be some kind of bird thing. I don't really know the whole concept of it, but I like it.
Be like, can you move stuff with your mind? Because we're going to need you to do that too.
Yes.
Like, no,
Anyway.
Vince, I can't do that. That's not a real thing.
Crazy Vince McMahon.
Yes. All right.
Well, we wish you guys a Merry Christmas. Have a good time.
All right. Later, everybody.
Hey, you wish a Merry Christmas, Ross.
Merry Christmas from the bottom
It pains
of
me.
my heart to all. There we go. Outro.